Okay, so these are the videos for the quadratics chapter. Now, whether or not you've already taken notes on this, it might be worth watching again just to doubly make sure that you understand everything. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is solving this equation. Now, whenever we've got an equation, a quadratic equation, what we tend to do is set it equal to 0. So if we bring this 9x here onto the other side, we're going to get x squared minus 9x equals 0. So now we've got it set equal to 0, we should look to factorize it. Now, as seen in previous lessons, we can't factorize it using two brackets in this case. So we're going to just take the x out. And we've got x bracket x minus 9. Now what we've got here is we've got two things. We've got this thing multiplied by this bracket. And if we've got two things multiplied together to make 0, either this thing's got to be 0 or this bracket's got to be 0. So in order to make the first thing here 0, we simply set x equal to 0. And substituting that in, you're going to get 0 times by minus 9 if you substitute it in, which is going to be 0. So that works. The other thing we do is we set this bracket equal to 0. So we've got x minus 9, we've got to set that equal to 0. So that will equal 9. So the two solutions are x equals 0 and x equals 9. Now this second one down here is more of a sort of common equation that you get. So back in GCSEs when we had to solve this one, we stick it into two brackets because we've got x squared, we've got a number of x's, and then we've got a number on the end. So if we split that into two brackets, so equal to 0, we're going to put an x in both the brackets to start off with. Now the next thing we do once we put an x in both brackets is we see what multiplies together to make 15, or in this case minus 15. So we've got 1 and 15, 3 and 5. And then which of these pairs can we use to make this thing here, which is the minus 2? And the way we do that is we use the 3 and the 5 here. So we need to have a positive 3, then we need to take away 5. So it's going to be x plus 3 and x minus 5. So once we've done that, we've got to set both these brackets equal to 0. So we've got x plus 3, we've got to set that equal to 0. So take away 3, we've got x equals minus 3. And for this, once you've done more and more, then you can see that we just swap the signs here. So for this one, that's simply going to be x equals 5. Okay, so let's have a look at these ones. These ones are a little bit trickier. So here we've got a number in front of the x squared, so we've got 6x squared. So that's either going to be x times by 6x, or we've got 2x times by 3x. Now, in the previous video when we factorized one of these quadratics, we've got a coefficient of x squared, I said to go for the one where it's not 1 times the maximum, so not 1 times 6x makes 6x, but the ones in the middle, so 2x times 3x. And then we're going to use the numbers 1 and 5 to multiply together to make 5. And then what we've got to do is we've got to, when we multiply it out, we've got to somehow make the 13. So if I use this one down the bottom, and if I just look at it, I could have one lot of 3, or I could have 5 lots of 2. So 1 lot of 3, 5 lots of 2. I can use 3 and 10 to make 15. If I do that, if I've got 3x and I've got 10x, both of them need to be positive to make the 13x. The trouble with making them both positive is that when we multiply it together, it's not going to make them minus 5, so we've got to be careful. So, let's try putting that the other way around. So I've got the 5 here to make 15, then I'm going to take away 2. So that's going to make 15x, that's going to make 2x. Well, I can use 15x and 2x to make a positive 13x. By having a positive 15x, that needs to be plus 5 times 3. Then we need to take away 2x to get back down to 13x. And therefore, we've got 5 times minus 1 to make the minus 5. So now that we've factorized it, what we need to do is we need to solve it. In each of these questions, it's saying solve. So what we've got to do is we've got to set this first bracket equal to 0, so 2x plus 5 equals 0. So 2x equals minus 5, x equals minus 5 over 2. Again, once you get used to it, you should be able to do that quite quickly. Similarly with this one, we set 3x minus 1 equal to 0, 3x equals 1, x equals 1/3. So these are our two solutions. And if you've got time and the inclination, you can substitute these values of x back into the original equation here. So 6 lots of minus 5 over 2 squared, work that out, add 13 lots of minus 5 over 2, take away 5, and you should get 0. Excuse me. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to solve the next one. So x squared minus 5x plus 18 equals 2 plus 3x. Now the thing that's going to stop us doing that one is the fact that we've got things on both sides. So the first thing we've got to do is get it set equal to 0. So we're going to get rid of this 2 by taking it away from both sides, and get rid of this 3x by taking it away from both sides. So you're going to have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. And once we've done that, x minus 4 equals 0, or you could have x minus 4 squared equals 0, both exactly the same thing. And then there's only one solution, because if you set this bracket equal to 0 or this bracket equal to 0, you're going to end up with x equaling 4. Okay, so let's have a look at the next one, the next two. So we've got 2x minus 3 squared equals 25. Now, of course, we could expand the brackets. And if you ever expand the brackets which are squared, you need to write the bracket out twice. So 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3, and then use whichever method you use when you expand brackets. I tend to use the smiley face method. However, you can use whichever method you want. And then you set it equal to 25. And then, because we want it equal in 0, once we've then expanded it to get 4x squared minus 6x minus 6x plus 9 equals 25. Bring that 25 over, so we've got 4x squared minus 12x minus 16 equals 0. And then you can solve from there. There is an easier way, which I'm going to go through in a second, but as we've reached this point here, we might as well continue with this, because there's a good point to be made here. In fact, let's tie this up a little bit. Like 12x. Now here we've got 4x squared minus 12x minus 16 equals 0. Now, when we've been doing algebra throughout the years, as long as we do the same to the left-hand side as to the right-hand side, that's absolutely fine. The answers don't change. So here, we can divide everything through by 4, because we can see that everything on this left-hand side here can be divided by 4. So if we divide that side by 4, as long as we divide this side by 4, it's not going to change anything. So if we divide the left-hand side by 4, we've got x squared minus 3x minus 4. If we divide 0 by 4, we simply get 0. And then what we can do is we can say x, so we can factorize. That's going to be minus 4 plus 1, so we've got x equals 4, x equals minus 1. Like I say, that's one solution to do it. However, what I would do, going back, if we have the second method here, what I would do here is, because we've got a squared on this side, and we can see this is a square number, we can square root both sides. So 2x minus 3, so we've got rid of the squared here by square rooting, that equals the square root of 25. But it is vitally important when we do this. Hopefully you'll be saying what I wanted to do before I've actually said it, but when we square root 25, we've got to have two solutions, plus and minus. You can see we've got two solutions down here, so we need to have two solutions, and the way we do that is we have a positive square root of 25 and a minus square root of 25. Then what I'd do is I'd split it into 2, so I'd have 2x minus 3 equals the square root of 25 is 5, or 2x minus 3 equals minus 5. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to add 3 to both sides, so I've got 2x equals 8, x equals 4, which is this solution. I've got 2x, if I add 3, 2x equals minus 2, x equals minus 1, and that's this solution here. So, in essence, it doesn't matter which method you use, as long as you arrive at the correct answers. But the reason that I wanted to go through this second method here, is because we've got this next question. And here, you won't get nice answers by using this method here. So we're going to use exactly the same method as we have done here. So the first thing we do is we square root it. So we've got x minus 3, we square root that side, equal, twice. Is we've got plus and minus the square root of 7. Again, see the importance of the plus and the minus there. So then what we do is we're going to split it into 2. We've got x minus 3 equals the square root of 7, and x minus 3 equals minus the square root of 7. Then what we do to get x by itself is we add 3 to both sides. So we've got x equals 3 plus the square root of 7, and x equals 3 minus the square root of 7. That's it, that's our two solutions. And very often in C1 and in fact C2 and C3 and C4, they'll say give your answer in exact form. This is what they mean. Here, because we don't have a calculator, we don't know what the square root of 7 is. But here, 3 plus the square root of 7, that's exact form. Okay, and that's that video. The next video, as you can see, is completing the square.